everybody, and welcome to NOCN Group Live event today. I think we want a great agenda for you, and I hope you're going to find this a really worthwhile time. I can't ask you because I know you're all on mute and you can't say anything over the platform. If you want to raise questions during the day, please use the live chat, and that will be monitored, and we'll take your questions, and various speakers will be able to answer them. But hopefully you did get your goodie box, and I particularly recommend the popcorn if you like popcorn. Very tasty. What you'll notice in our agenda is that we have 5-minute gaps between sessions, so that gives you time for a cup of coffee and a break before the next session starts. We've got a very interesting set of speakers today. We're going to talk about endpoint assessment. We're going to talk about access into higher education, what's happening in the qualifications market. And we have Paul Curry of Permissima Homes will talk us around what's happening in housing and in their organisation and their view on the skills agenda. Then this afternoon you've got choices. You can go to a site right, which is all around the short courses in construction, or you can engage in and find out more about training of EPA assessors through our training programme. And then after a tea break this afternoon, you've got 2 more choices. One is to learn more about the construction cards, construction plant cards, and what's happening out there in the industry around smart cards, the introduction of digital CVs and all of that sort of thing. There's a lot happening there. But if you're not interested in smart cards, we've got a great event by Jordan Lee, who is the director of Olive, who's our partner for our vLearn platform. So again, a lot around the new technology and how world is changing for us. And we'll come together at the end. And I think we all know, you'll see this theme about change throughout this agenda. And that's because COVID has had quite a big impact on us all. Yes, we all know that it's been disruptive. There's been, sadly, a large number of deaths. But it has, I believe, fundamentally changed the way that we will deliver training and skills and assessment as we go forward. The world will become much more digital. And I think you'll see that flavour in this agenda, and you'll see that flavour going forward in most of the speeches today, particularly this afternoon. A couple of those workshops I hope you'll find very interesting. NOCN Group is a charity. We do a wide range of things. As you'll know, we started as a regulated awarding organisation for across the UK, but we now work internationally as well. We do apprenticeships, endpoint assessment. We do assess access to higher education diplomas, as well as a whole stack of short courses, construction smart cards, assessment and consultancy and research, or a broad range of things. But our purpose, why are we doing that as a charity? What we want to do is to help people get into employment or self-employment, to develop their skills and their careers, and to be able to enjoy their life and enjoy economically active life and progress themselves. Yeah. This is all about helping people into employment and up through their career pathways, and that's what we're about. That's why we are a charity, and that's what we're trying to help people do. And to do some of that, we feel that we not only need to care about the learners and the apprentices and how they're going to progress through their education and the development of their skills and competencies, but specialise where they need to specialise. But we also want to influence. We want to influence the government. We want to influence the regulators, government departments, and other key stakeholders. And that's part of what we do. You probably will have seen us and speaking at conferences or making comments on things. And that's particularly important to us, is that if we are going to help people get the skills that they need, then we need to help influence, government policy and government thinking on how that's going to happen. And one of the themes that we are particularly bashing on about at the moment is the concern that there is following the FE's consultation that we will lose funding for level 2 and maybe below. So what's one of our themes, and it's an example of the way that we try to influence government thinking with others, working with a wide variety of other stakeholders like the AOC and ALP and BAC and others. So we link ourselves in, and we do try that influencing to try and help ensure we've got a really good skill system in the UK, and we've got a really good ecosystem, and we've got the support, so people in the industry have got the right skills to be able to teach and assess and support those learners as they go through, as well as the services we provide in terms of helping with assessment, making sure people have got the right sort of skills and the right sort of accreditation so they can move forward in their careers. As you probably be aware, government has recently announced the white paper. Broadly, this got quite a lot of good publicity. I think there was a general sort of feeling that, oh, this looks as if it could be a good step forward. That's now turned into the bill, which is starting to move its way through. And I think as people have dug into the detail, there's been more controversy over what is actually going to happen, in particular around the local skills improvement plans. And if you've attended a couple of the sessions I've spoken at, I think they're a great idea. However, we have tried this before and they've not worked. We did this with the RDAs, and that didn't seem to work. So if we do this with 50 odd little mini RDAs or the Chambers of Commerce, some of us are wondering what we're really going to get out of this necessarily. Although realizing that down at the economic level within the country, the natural travel to work area, the natural little economies within the country, it is good to have a sense of what are the priorities in terms of developing skills for those local industries, and those localities where they all start at different places, they've all got different problems to tackle, and different industries in different parts of the country. So I do understand the sort of need for that, but we've got to make sure that it works. And there is concern about the government's proposals that this was going to be run by the Chambers of Commerce. Some Chambers of Commerce are excellent, fantastic, others are not, and there wasn't, I don't think there was coherency within the government proposals about how this all met and matched up with the Metro mayors. So a lot still to work through there. In terms of level 4 and level 5, the proposals, they sort of make sense. It's an area where we don't have enough people. We do have quite a big skills gap compared to our competitor countries. So doing something about that again makes sense, although not everybody agrees with what's being proposed. I think we welcome the lifetime skills funding and the guarantees and the loans, although take up a loan's it's not good. It hasn't been historically good. So you wonder whether that really will tackle the gaps that we've got, particularly at level 4 and level 5, and how we try to fill that in. But at least welcome that the government wants to try and do something. There's obviously the stick for the FE colleges in terms of interventions if they don't do what's required in the local skills improvement plans. Well, I'm not really sure if that's the right sort of tone that we need to encourage people to work together in a collegiate way and in a proper partnership way. But okay, it's what the government thinks is necessary. We also welcome within the paper the thrust about improving teacher and training. I'd like to include within that assessor training as well, and CPD and recruitment. But the paper ducks the big issue of the pay, and we know in some sectors pay comparisons between training providers and colleges is fine with that in industry, but there are other sectors where people can earn 50-100% more to stay working in the industry, and the paper doesn't really address that quite significant problem and the skills gaps that colleges and private training providers have already. in terms of recruitment. I mean, I've got a worry that one of the proposals in this paper, which is to let people go out into industry to improve their CPD, which is great, you know, but once they've earned more money, will they come back? Is obviously a challenge. So some good ideas, but we need to really think these things through before we implement the final versions. All of that, the world is changing. We've probably all heard that COP is coming off in Glasgow. Conference of Participants, that stands for. Since you didn't say anything about environment or green, but that's what the COP is all about. And I think this is going to become a big issue, along with us coming out of COVID and the change to a digital world. The big thrust is going to be around the environment, yes, and making life more sustainable on the planet. And in that sense, it's interesting to see that IFATE, the Institute of Apprenticeships that is in England, has started to support the green industry revolution. They started to look at how they can build that into the apprenticeship standards. And there's a paper that's issued around that, an advisory panel paper around how they might try to do that. And I'd suggest you actually get hold of a copy of that and look at it, because there's different ways. There may be completely new jobs. There may be minorly adapted jobs, and there may be majorly adapted jobs in the way that they actually fundamentally approach the change of standards. But we can see a need to update standards and to change and adapt standards, occupational standards, going forward. And therefore, it's good to see that government is recognising the need to do that, because there will be skills gaps. Changes to the green as a result of the green policies of the government are going to impact on virtually all jobs in the economy, as is the digital changes coming around by COVID. And a couple of things that are happening around the apprenticeship world are the introduction of traineeships as a sort of feed into apprenticeships. And you will have seen some of the discussions around occupational traineeships at level 1 that will lead into a level 2 or a level 3 apprenticeship. And the announcement by the government in February of that, and the trials that are pilots that are now kicking off, one in rail engineering and one in bricklaying, as to start the first cohorts on these occupational traineeships, with the view that will then grow out into not only other occupations within the rail sector, transport and construction sector, but into other sectors as well. So all of that is coming along. But we're also seeing changes coming out of the government in terms of apprenticeships, accelerated apprenticeships, shorter ones, because they've done the traineeship and they've done some of the learning and they've started to get some of the skills, so they're better prepared. So they hopefully will be able to get through their apprenticeship a bit quicker. Flexible job apprenticeships, recognizing that some industries have to move between different employers in order to get the necessary skills to fulfill the requirements, and a flexible delivery of apprenticeships, not just day release, but block release or front loading and that. So a lot of change taking place there, and a lot of that welcome. So what next in terms of the wider picture? The government is clearly going to invest in sectors to get us out of the recession that was created by COVID. Construction is going to be one of those. So we are going to see bigger pushes. So HS2 and rail, much more on power generation. And we know Hinkley Point is being built down in Somerset. Sizewell will follow it, as will others. And a real big push on housing. So I hope you enjoy what Paul College got to say later on this afternoon from Persimmon. So there'll be a big thrust in terms of construction in order to try to get the economy to come out. We will, as part of digital moves of digital assessments, a lot more towards remote invigilation. That we already have that available in virtually most of our qualifications, but you can see the growth of that is very high. The moment training providers, colleges, are putting their toe in the water with this, and some are having a go at it, but you can see it's going to be the future as we move forward. And linked to that, obviously, a lot more about V-learning. At the end of the day, I think we will still have physical learning, and certainly some occupations will require you to be able to demonstrate you can physically do it, but it's going to be the early part of that training and perhaps the knowledge part of that training where we're going to start to see the use of more online learning techniques. For us, that will also progress on to digital certificates. We've got those now. We can see people relying on digital certificates much more. Perhaps it may take 5-10 years for people to move off paper, but you can see that's where it's going to head. And there's also the need to actually increase people's general digital skills in the economy. So we're launching our essential digital skills as well as traineeships. And more for us, more and more apprenticeship standards and occupations, and a change to the way we're doing our qualifications. So I hope you'll start to see some of that in the rest of the day. We'll tell my colleagues will tell you more and more about those things. I hope you'll find that useful, and I hope you'll be able to get something really worthwhile out of today. So thank you very much. There's now a 5-minute.